In my last Hazbin Hotel video, I addressed what I believed is Evan's biggest mistake based off of what we got in season 2, episode 5. And for those who missed it, TLDR, the gift baskets ain't it. If you would like to hear my full thoughts on the matter, do check out the video. It's in the Hazbin Hotel playlist and should be the one before this one. But something I noticed in the comments of that video was the fact that whilst the majority of the commenters did agree with the points I made, some of them at least, some people did not. And the reason why they didn't was because of this belief that the sinners were in hell to be punished. And so the exterminations were a part of that. Now, I do not believe that hell in the Hazbin Hotel universe, which is meant as a place for sinners to be remanded, is contractually a place for their souls to be erased as well. I do not believe that. There is a big difference in that. And if you would like me to make a video to that effect, please let me know in the comments. I'll get to it shortly after I'm done with my Serpentious and Cherry Bomb video, which was kindly requested by Naily. I got you, boo. However, I do want to address the other part of people's comments that seem to be of the opinion that because hell is filled with, trigger warning, rapists and murderers and cannibals and pimps, then yeah, hell's residents deserve to be exterminated on a yearly, and if Adam had anything to say about it, biannually basis. Because when I saw those comments, the only thing that came resonating for me was the question of what damns a sinner? Because if there's anything Hazbin Hotel Season 2 has revealed to us so far, it's that it's not really how we assume it to be. And realizing that would most certainly put our perspective of how hell works and who is present within it into a whole other light, at least as far as the sinners are concerned. Because here is the thing, and this is something I did mention in one of my responses to the comments I got, which I think bears repeating. Due to the fact that a not so insignificant percentage of the world's population at some point or the other came in contact with Abrahamic religions and their take on hell, that tends to color our understanding and perception about the concept of hell whenever it appears. And yes, I am very aware that Dante's Inferno also contributed heavily to this. However, whenever we are interacting with any creative work that sets hell and its denizens as the characters of the story, it is important for us as readers and watchers to be aware of where hell stops as we know it from the Bible, the Quran, or how Dante Alighieri wrote it to be. Each writer conceptualizes what hell looks like for them, and that is what we as consumers of the media have to keep in mind. I bring this up because a lot of Hazbin Hotel viewers were quite surprised when in season 2 episode 2 we finally got the revelation about Serpentious' life as a mortal and how he found himself as a sinner in hell. Unlike the comments that have broadly categorized all the sinners we meet as murderers, trigger warning, rapists, and cannibals, Serpentious is neither of those things. The reason why his soul was damned to hell was because of the guilt that his inaction and cowardice weighed on his soul. That is what dragged him to the depths of hell. The guilt and the shame and the belief that he deserves punishment for his inaction. Now, I'm not about to say that all the sinners in hell were damned only because of their guilt and shame. I mean, clearly Valentino and Vox and even Alistair are not in hell because they are otherwise good people who made a terrible mistake and found themselves in hell. That would be Serpentious. However, I will like to point out that based off of the information we were given about Serpentious' history, he is most likely not the only sinner in hell because of the shame and guilt about the choices they made. There are several others like him. Hell, I am still of the opinion that the reason why Angel Dust is in hell is not because of the fact that he killed his father per se, but more because of the guilt he felt at killing his father, in which case he desperately believes that he should be punished for his actions, hence why he became a sinner. But the thing about sinners like Angel and Serpentius, who walk the thin line of not being absolutely vile, but yet being present in hell, is that the way in which hell works in the Hazbin universe is that the sinners that are condemned to hell don't really experience the in between of judgment where a decision is reached as to why they took the actions or didn't take the actions they should have, which in turn led them to hell. It is important to consider this because it's mostly Abrahamic religions that do not have the stopgap of weighing and judging that a lot of other religions that have a concept of hell have, which in turn means that the souls get to make or plead their case, or the judge knows their case. And if they are too wrecked by their guilt to do so, they at least will be able to answer questions to explore the why of their actions. We don't really get that with Hazbin Hotel. Vizzy so far has not actually explained how sinners' souls are judged with regards who makes it to hell. I mean, we don't actually know how souls make it to heaven either. Like with Serpentius, we got an explanation of how redemption works, which is basically proving that your soul has learned and grown from the mistakes that had kept you bound in hell. That is tied directly to what damned you to hell in the first place. We know that now. But Charlie's question to Adam in Welcome to Heaven, that is season 1, episode 6, which is how does a soul, not a sinner's redeemed soul, but a soul get to heaven? It still stands. I mean, Adam didn't know the answer to that, which is why he gave the panicked act selfless, don't steal, stick it to the man, which we know is a lie because Adam is the most selfish twat in heaven, and the thought of anyone thinking him selfless makes me laugh. But at the same time, the thought it made that it is possible that just as with what damns a soul to hell being not necessarily the truth of the matter, but how the sinner feels and what the sinner believes about the matter, what if the same applies with heaven? Whereby Adam is not selfless, but he thinks and believes himself selfless. If that is the case, then it further proves that not all the sinners who are in hell are there because they actually should be there, but a portion of them are there because they think that they should be there. It's their own thoughts and beliefs that damned them. And if we apply that to angel dust, like I said earlier, it is possible that his father's death isn't what damned him, but his guilt and thoughts about it. Because if Vox's words are to be believed when he's telling Charlie about what Angel's sin was, then Angel's father was an abusive piece of shit. Not to get on the psychologist chair, but Angel's reaction to Val's abuse, and even Vox to some extent, reads as someone who's had to deal with that all of his life. So I was not surprised at Vox implying that Angel's father was abusive. There's nothing to say that Angel did not crack in one of those abusive moments and kill his father in self-defense. As long as he does not believe that it is self-defense, as long as he continues to blame himself and berate himself for the action, then based off of the established rules, he would damn himself to hell. Now let's take it a step further from Angel. What is to stop a trigger warning again? Rape victim who feeling guilty at having murdered their attacker in self-defense damns their own soul to hell. I mean, based off of the black and white view of hell and its denizens, they did commit murder after all, justified though it may be. Would you say that because of that they too deserve to be exterminated for the joy of it? Because we know that that is why Adam is doing it. Like, Sarah approved their extermination to protect heaven, or so she tells Emily and the speaker of God, and of course we the audience. But Adam was doing it for the love of the game because he is a sadistic piece of shit. So does a victim in that sense deserve that extermination? I was having a conversation with one of my best friends who is also a fan of Hazbin Hotel, and we were talking about the children in Cannibal Town because there are children in hell. No matter how everyone seems to like to skip over that fact, even though we all saw that it was because of Aggie sparing a sinner child that Lut gouged out her eye and ripped out her wings and the exorcist abandoned her in hell to die, there are sinner children in hell. How do you explain that? Because when my bestie and I were talking about their presence in Cannibal Town, I mentioned the fact that, well, wars happen. War changes people. When you have children in war-torn areas with no food and no means of sustenance, they sometimes find themselves turning to the only way in which they can survive with so many bodies around. It is heartbreaking, but it is cannibalism nonetheless. And since the judging is so stringent and based off of what the sinner believes about themselves and how they failed, then you have sinner children who find themselves in hell and in Cannibal Town. It's something we have to keep in mind always, that the way in which the world of the show works and how its rules operate is different from what we glean from religious texts and all. Like, sure, Vizzy took inspiration from that, but she also created an original work based off of that, which she tweaks to suit the story she wants to tell. And we need to have that at the forefront of our minds as we have these conversations. Working off of what it is that we know so far, it's a bit rash to write off all the sinners. Some of them are horrible yet, and some of them are just trying to survive, to get by in the way in which they can, living by the established rules that they choose to follow. Not all of them are, trigger warning, rapists. If that was the case, there wouldn't be a club called Consent in Hell, whose rules clearly work with consent in mind, hence why St. Precious was almost booted out because they thought it was trying to force consent. It's little details like that that help us see how hell has created its own society within itself, and heaven's indiscriminate extermination, no matter how one tries to make allowances for it, ignores that. Of course, these are just my thoughts. You are allowed to agree or disagree with me. Please share your thoughts in the comments. As always, I would love to read them. Like this video if you've watched this far and haven't done so yet. Share this if you want. Support me on Patreon or become a YouTube member if you can. Nothing is too small, and I'm doing this full time, so trust me, a little goes a very long way. If, however, you cannot support me financially at this time, liking and commenting on my videos also work, or you can check out my other channels. One is my gaming channel and the other is my ASMR content. I have both of them linked in the description bar if they sound like something you might possibly be interested in. Whichever the case may be, I will see you tomorrow with a new video. Until then, do remember, obsessing over the things you love, perfectly valid coping mechanism.